Here we are. I think we're live.
All right.
Hey, if you've attended this webinar and you can hear us, can you just say hello in the chat room area? Great. Hi, Patricia. Well, that's enough confirmation for me, I think.
That'll work for me.
All right. Well, happy holidays and welcome to our presentation this afternoon as of 1 minute ago on the East Coast. My name is Dave Hitt and I am here with, who am I here with?
Hi guys, my name is Andrea Salemi. I'm with Blue Noda. I'm located in Cleveland, Ohio right now and happy to see the sun and no snow in the city. If you're in the suburbs, sorry that you guys got snow.
So without further ado, here we go. The title of our presentation are what we're calling Webbycast, and maybe I should sort of give some definition to what sort of my personal feeling about these, the flavor of these presentations should be. I would love to and encourage folks to interact with us in the chat room. My goal is to sort of make you feel like you're all participants in this. And if you have a question, Andrea, you put some polls up, I think. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, I'll be distributing those throughout. Just ask questions. All the results are going to be shared with everyone. And yeah, don't hesitate to chat because maybe not all the answers are what you deem to be worthy. So say none and then go into the chat and let us know.
Right, and I guess it's snowing in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Oh, there you go.
So a little note about ourselves. Andrea just briefly introduced herself. She can say a little bit more, but my name's Dave Hitt, and I own a marketing firm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Looks like it snowed in New York State. Well, New York State should beat us to the sort of milestone of first snowfall, I think. I own a company called Splat, and our focus is digital, and our focus is professional service marketing, real estate marketing, a couple other verticals that we have reasonably deep experience with. My first client actually is a freelancer doing the sort of work that we do now is actually the real estate department of a big law firm, national law firm, Ballard Spahr. That was in 1997. So I have reasonably deep experience marketing professional services. And Andrea here, say a little bit more about your professional expertise.
All right. Not my love for my Frenchie, Murphy.
No, you can say that too. You can even hold him up if you want.
He's somewhere around. He's taking a nap. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea. I started Blue Noda almost 2 years ago, come April. And I've been blessed to know the Splat team for over a year now. And we work together. We merge forces to create holistic digital marketing and advertising and all the great things that we need to compound together. I guess my history, gosh, if we go further back, I ran a golf course back in the day, but marketing's always been my passion. It's when I went to school for, and I've dabbled in almost anything and everything purposefully so that I could become a better strategist. And I've done time with higher education in Boston. We did web design at a boutique firm here in Cleveland. I worked in New York with one of my favorite clients, which was Shell Catalysts and Technologies, to do a multi-channel approach and implementation to increase lead generation. And then I even worked on the AI side in paid social and paid search for Danone Global. And now I find myself here amongst many. Life flipped upside down unexpectedly due to the global pandemic. And I'm happy to say that we're here today. That's it.
So Andrea and our partnership began because I have always sought a partner with really a technical and deeper, geekier approach to a lot of the digital marketing tactics that we have been applying. And I think, as you'll see, especially when we talk about sales and marketing automation, she brings a unique set of skills and a unique perspective. So without further ado, who is this Webbycast for? So we're talking today about marketing strategies designed to meet the needs of professional service firms that have a B2C customer base, so a direct to consumer customer base, or something that sort of approximates the flavor of direct to consumer. So, in other words, some of our clients are in fact marketing to small businesses, but all of these types of clients, all of these types of professional service firms are constantly in need of refreshing their lead generation pipeline. So think like a tax lawyer, for instance. That's a very seasonal business. A lot of the case studies that we'll be looking at today are actually from a tax law firm. A personal injury lawyer is a perfect example. An accountant, again, very seasonal business. Any kind of professional service firm that either is in fact constrained to sort of a one and done client model, or fights the perception that that's the model that they live within, is likely to benefit from some of the strategies we talk about. So what are the specific needs of that sort of client? Let's start right there. What distinguishes this client from other types of professional service firms that might be sort of more referral based? The real sort of differentiator is the need to create a constant, steady stream of incoming leads. And the purpose of our presentation and what we hope to show you is the tools that we've learned and have implemented for clients that begin the process by ensuring a steady stream of new lead generation. And then once we have those leads, and this is where Andrea's big piece of the puzzle comes in, we use sales and marketing automation tools to ensure that incoming leads just don't get dropped. So in an old school model, an incoming lead is either going to convert to be a client, or they're oftentimes lost. Marketing and sales automation tools prevent that from happening by allowing us to sort of nurture leads even when they're past the point at which they've made an initial decision. We don't forget about them. We keep them at top of mind by sending them emails or creating other touch points. And then further down the road, even for our current clients, automation can allow us to create a constant ecosystem of feedback, because as Andrea will talk about, what we're able to do is sort of monitor client behavior and figure out what they like and what they don't like. Do you have anything to add to that, Andrea?
Yeah, I think, sometimes we've overcomplicated things in marketing, right? We talk about that all day long with our clients. Tons of MarTech, tons of strategy, where to go, channels. And I think when we just simplify it and think about who we love to work with and why they love to work with us, we just ask those simple questions, and then we gain a lot of traction back to top of funnel, right?
Right. So, it's all about that sort of, standard fundamental of marketing, which is know your audience and know what they want and keep them happy. You satisfy those sort of basic prerequisites and you have a successful relationship with your clients. So the next part of our presentation, we're going to talk about, how we decide to whom we're going to market and how we're going to market, essentially. It's pretty much a no-brainer for anybody that runs a professional services firm that you need to know your audience. So in order to know your audience, we sort of favor what's called a persona-based approach to marketing, which is getting enough information about your audience so that you understand who they are, where they live, what they consume, why they're choosing your product, why they aren't choosing your product, those sorts of things. And there's different ways to do that, from simple to expensive and complicated, obviously. Simple ways of doing that is just look at your existing dossier of clients, tease out patterns in terms of income, age, services typically provided, et cetera. And then, Andrea, why don't you talk about how marketing automation can sort of inform our understanding of personas?
Well, with the automated part, what we do currently with one of our clients, just going back to customer feedback, we send out a 60-day automation. So if you retain a client, I'm going to use the word retain. We work a lot in the legal vertical. So when we retain a client for our services, then it sparks what we call a tag or a trigger. And then 60 days on set from there, the customer survey is going to send out. And I would say health checks with your clients, it's probably great every 90 days. You can even flip that internally and get health checks with your staff.
What does the health check look like? Like a survey or a call or?
Exactly, a survey. I think, there's a balance too, right? I don't know if other folks are feeling this via in their industries, but it seems like we're somewhat hesitant to get on the phone right away and have that human interaction. There are our outliers. I've got clients that love getting on the phone and some that say just email me. But no, this is to spark an email that says, hey, we're checking in. Here's a survey, no more than 1.5 minutes. Keep it light. Ask the right questions. This is going to be an ongoing evolution. You're going to find gaps where sales is like, gosh, I really wish that we would have known X, Y, and Z. Hey, marketing, could you ask that next time? So yes, that's where the automated approach can help you to know thy audience. And of course, setting up forms and asking questions when prospects are coming in, what industry, and go beyond like job title and industry and all the like demo questions and ask about challenges. What are your primary challenges right now? Because challenges equate to content, challenges equate to solution, education. Mm-hmm.
So the really great thing that I find, I'm much more of a generalist than Andrea is in terms of my knowledge of these products. But like the great thing, it seems to me, another great thing that automation packages allow you to do is, like she just said, get really deep in terms of asking your questions, because once you've collected the data, you've got it forever and you can do with it what you want. So in other words, even if you start collecting data that seems sort of ancillary or superfluous at one moment in time, that data could become really relevant down the road, and you can use that data to drive marketing decisions. So this is just a slide that sort of shows the upshot of a typical persona research project. Process rather. At the end of the day, you want to collect the information that represent typical client profiles for you. We've done this for lots of clients, and it can get a little, cliche in some ways, because you end up marketing to Mary Sue or marketing to Juan Soto. So I think there are limitations to persona marketing, which is kind of another discussion, but they're useful as starting points, I think, right?
I agree. Like we go back and forth. I've been in persona workshops that take weeks or months, and it just, to be honest, like I think that they're with the right folks and partners, and I say folks like the team within, right? Like, so like, I don't know, like David, I think we've been in persona workshops where there's a lot of contradiction, and I say like, okay,
Right.
we might get into a mess here as a team, because you're going to think we're marketing to this person, you're going to disagree. But it's a very cathartic moment when you can actually marry it to some data after the point, right?
I've also found, just as an aside, with a lot of our clients, personas, when you ask a client to produce personas, so if we were to ask, you folks who might work in-house, you often get aspirational personas, as I call them, which is to say the clients that you'd like to have, but not necessarily the clients you're likely to get.
Yeah. If anyone's like a marketing manager, just like give a shout. I just remember those days of in-house marketing manager. We were expected to do everything and everything, know every channel. And then of course, cater to a plethora of personas, half of which, could be debunked and a waste of time. So love hey Julie, I see you. And Eden.
So we're gonna talk next about tactics, basically. How we have sort of addressed the needs of some of our clients that do a lot of direct-to-consumer marketing, and how we've been able to get easy or not so easy wins for them in terms of increases ultimately in business. The first case study that we're going to look at is for a tax law firm that we have worked for several years. Their name is Moskowitz, and the story behind Moskowitz as a tax law firm is the buy-in to the use of advertising and marketing. The buy-in to advertising and marketing was made a long time ago by their principal. So this is a fellow who has run a tax law firm since the 80s and has traditionally relied on a lot of broadcast advertising. About 6 or 7 years ago, well, actually longer than that, about 10 years ago, they started investing considerable efforts in digital. And this is an example of some work that we did about a year and a half ago for them, where we significantly were able to increase their organic visitation, so site visits basically, but based purely on content that they had already produced or were producing. So they have this blog they've been writing since 2009, and they have written a lot of really great article content. I'm sorry, I'm being just distracted by the very collegial and friendly chat room stuff that's going on. So our client in San Francisco has been writing long form blog content since 2009, but their strategy had always been to just write what they felt was topical and valuable to their customers without the benefit of a lot of organic SEO research. So in other words, they had scads of content, but they hadn't necessarily figured out or made the effort to figure out what keywords should be used to describe that content. So, they might have been using, for instance, vocabulary to describe their services, but that vocabulary didn't reflect the vocabulary that was being used by search queries. So people were describing those services differently than they were describing them themselves. So what Andrea did, you want to come back to, you want to do this little segue here about how dangerous it is to assume. This is the dangers of assumption. We'll call this screen the dangers of assumption.
Right. So I always have to just start with the reason we're hitting on SEO is because it's a really great channel that can bring you a lot of cheaper leads over time. And SEO is kind of my love. And I also do believe there's a lot of SEO specialists out there that don't really speak to the truth. And the truth is, we specialize in this platform, but at the end of the day, we're just doing our best to ebb and flow with an algorithm that's ever changing. The name of the game with SEO is be relevant and write to your users content that they're going to eat up and find educational. And don't gate it, keep it free, build trust. So SEO here, what we're looking at is tax credits 2021. Huge volume, 8.1 thousand searched monthly, high difficulty. So you'd think, okay, I want that keyword, right? We've got this tax credits. I think like ERC is rolling out for some of our tax attorneys. We want to capture this. Well, you're going to be against a lot of like IRS.govs. The chances of you hitting page one within even a year is going to be really hard to do. So with that cadence, what we do is we seek niche articles or low-hanging fruit, niche terms, to write articles about and cluster around. So the next slide, David, is where we kind of pinpoint that child tax credit, which is another service our client was using at the time or currently. And we said, all right, well, we get about 2,500 searches a month with a 68-point difficulty, 68%. Much more manageable, and the clustered content, which we could do a whole presentation on. Chat if you think that's interesting. Clustering content to improve SEO and kind of catapult some of these articles up is the way to do it now, right? We can't just write articles anymore. 10 years ago, if you were just writing, you were going to rank. Now we've got to write. We've got to please Google. We've got to please our users, and we have to keep our sitemap and usability in mind for folks to discover on the site. Does that make sense?
Couple of quick comments. First off, shout out to Jim Staples, because we just had a discussion about long tail search and its importance. And this is revisiting that discussion. Yes, please explain clustering the content. I was about to, Barbara. Thank you for asking. Right. So the idea, if I'm getting this correct, and Andrea can correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea of a clustered strategy for SEO, or pillars, I've heard it described as pillars, is that essentially you're creating families of keywords rather than shooting sort of indiscriminately for specific keywords. So you will actually create a hierarchy on a website, and with a law firm, or this applies for accounting, and lots of different, all professional services really. A good place to start is practice areas or service areas, because those tend to contain the most intense concentration of keywords and the broadest concentration of keywords. So once you have a pillar, you write other content around the site within that sort of general pillar. Was that right?
Yep.
All
I love
right.
it. And then a good
Okay.
visual. I'm a visual learner, guys. So imagine a star and star or hand. And your pillar is here. It's strong. It's hitting that high volume. And then your clustered content, which is like your low hanging fruit, right? Usually your blogs. This is going to represent more of like a service area in your sitemap in the main nav. And then you've got blogs that are interlinking to each other, right? So when Google Spider goes through, that's how it discovers through links. Now it's linking to this content. It's going, oh, okay, tax preparation. That's what they do. But they're also giving education towards child tax credits, tax planning. You get the gist. How tos,
Right.
etc.
So the upshot, again, to sort of reframe what we didn't really change content. All we did was we might have made slight changes to headline content or what we call the H1 tags, very sort of key significant markers that search engines rely upon to determine content. We rewrote those for all their existing content. And essentially, we were able to nearly double organic site visitation in a year-to-year comparison. So just this exercise alone, and we're talking 14,000 visits versus 4,700 visits. So we're talking a considerable amount of traffic, which ultimately should be directly relatable to return on investment. I'm going to skip over the 1 through 3s. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
If folks are, and like at the end, guys, you just chat some topics
Sure.
you want us to hit on next time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll just quickly summarize. This exercise also enabled us to rank in positions 1 through 3 with a far greater number of keywords than we were at the beginning, thanks to all the hard work that Andrea put in for this client.
Yeah, and shout out to our dev Brian, because there is technical coding and cleanup on the back end too. It's just what we call spring cleaning, and it's ongoing.
Barbara, did I explain clustering effectively?
If not, we can send you some stuff too on the side. Got a little packet.
So, next tactic we're going to discuss, paid advertising, paid digital advertising in various forms. Designing effective pay-per-click funnels is the next few minutes that we'll be spending time on. Effective campaign design, creative, landing page, and forms feed the lead pipeline. So the role of pay-per-click advertising. Andrea, you want to go over those first 2 points?
Sure. So PPC, oh, we've got an ambulance. Sorry, friends. So PPC, paid search, actually pay-per-click can obviously attribute to the social channels as well. So paid search within Google. Hold on, David. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is the city life. Actually, Cleveland's noisier than New York was somehow. I don't know how that's possible. Yeah. So we're casting a wide net. This is going to bring awareness. And I do believe that with the right retargeting set in place within display and like kind of splashing your brand for recognition as they're like, you ever been on the subway and you don't need a mattress, and then the minute you need a mattress, you start realizing the advertising sitting there and you go, oh yeah, I need a long mattress. That literally happened to me. So display is there to retarget and stay top of mind during consideration. But in that first splash, anybody who's done paid search, you know it can be expensive. And you're just hoping that you actually convert some of those leads to bring that return back. So
right. The other point I would make that you had expressed when we were putting this presentation together is the role, again, that an automation tool can use as a feedback loop to inform pay-per-click advertising campaigns. So in other words, when we have an automation system in place, we get all kinds of, we're learning continually deeper levels of information about our clients and our prospects. And we can use that information to sort of reinform and reinvigorate all of our strategies, really, but PPC benefits from this. And then the other point that Andrea made is if you don't really feel like you have great data to sort of inform your paid ad strategy, the best place to look for all of this information is within your existing customer base. So just sort of flip the sales funnel. She refers to it as flipping the sales funnel. Flip the funnel. Look at who is already your customer to sort of inform advertising. So this is a quick case study. We work in real estate as well as professional services, and we had a client come to us in a couple years back. They had a big high-rise luxury project, rental project that they had built in Newark, New Jersey as part of a revitalization initiative there. They needed to lease a lot of units quickly, and they had very poor performing PPC ads. So we were tasked to overhaul their PPC, and what we did was our PPC specialist looked at the campaign and how that was set up in the very sort of technical back end of Google Ads, and we wrote better copy. We wrote copy that specifically was designed to push people to landing pages that we had designed for the project. We created forms that collected precisely the amount of information and allowed for the easy setup of appointments. In real estate, getting someone to show up to take a tour is probably the most important conversion outside of signing a lease or a buyer's agreement. In only a couple of two short months, the efforts we put towards both PPC and, I should note, local SEO, which we're not going to talk too much about, increased visitation rates by 150%, increased the number of pages typically viewed on the website from 2.4 to 3.77. The amount of traffic, sort of as an overall graph, between April and June, which represents the time of, the principal time of our engagement, you can see pretty much the point of this graph. Site visits from all sources went way up. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about PPC? Okay, great. Now I'm going to speed ahead because we're a little bit behind. We're talking about tactics, and I do not want to give short shrift to other tactics that that folks like marketing agencies like such as us or in-house folks should consider. Social media is obviously a very important player in the marketing playbook these days. A few thoughts about social, and again, we're not focusing on social. We do social, but you guys don't want to sit through a 3-hour presentation, I'm sure. Social gives us an opportunity to amplify components of organic strategy, bringing messaging in alignment. That just means that social supports everything else that you're doing. So, social is an opportunity to make sure that the blog post that you just wrote gets noticed on LinkedIn. Social also can be used to sort of amplify especially key and topical marketing messages like promoting events, hiring staff, announcing anniversaries, that sort of stuff. I also find it very interesting. I believe the Barbara that we have in our audience is going to be joining me for a webcast we do around the topics of personal branding and company branding. And I think social is the environment within which you sort of, in terms of professional services marketing, you oftentimes have sort of all-star. Oftentimes professional service firms are sort of a cast of all-stars, the Harlem Globetrotters of the legal world. And there's a component of the strategy that goes into social media that has to sort of grapple with personal brands that exist within an overarching company brand.
Don't talk at them, talk with them. Start the combo, right? Yeah.
Local SEO. Local SEO refers to a bricks and mortar firm's ability to show up in search engine results, specifically Google's Map Pack. And from the standpoint of SEO, it's interesting to us because it sort of reverses the goals of a lot of SEO strategies. When we're talking about organic SEO, the goal is often sort of to rank nationally. But when we're talking about local SEO, the goal is to start local and build lots of content that mentions and reinforces geographic location. And that often involves a lot of directories, a lot of listings, making sure that in the local world, they refer to them as NAPs, name, address, phone number. Make sure all of those are consistent everywhere that your firm is listed. And then again, Andrea's keyword cluster strategy can be used for local content. So, she noted that you can write a series of blog posts that talk about storage facilities in Northfield, Ohio, and then another one on climate-controlled storage facilities in Northfield, Ohio, et cetera. Just this content that relates to locality, right, A?
Yeah, and that case study was one of my first and was really fun in its success because Ready Storage, the one we're talking about, is a mom and pop shop with 6 locations in northeastern Ohio. Killing it for a while, cut the yellow pages 10 years ago, and then the big shops move in. U-Haul starts coming in, Bob Storage, Life Storage, whatever it is now. And they had no way of competing within paid advertising. I mean, the budgets are astronomical. So, but they still had great organic because they had started this process so long ago, and their domain was very old. And for Google, that gains some traction and points, and they're still to this day competing organically with these big boys, and that makes me really happy because the big boys still, produce a lot of content. They're just pushing it out, but they're not doing it with proper strategy and structure. So, good for us.
Before we go into the sales and marketing automation part of our presentation, I would say a word about traditional channels that some professional service firms have relied on for decades. And specifically, I feel like I would be living in a vacuum if I didn't acknowledge that firms like personal injury law firms have been availing themselves of traditional marketing and advertising opportunities such as outdoor advertising, bus stop advertising, regional cable TV advertising. These are all sort of more traditional channels that are still very much part of the marketing mix for a lot of professional service firms. We look at those as well when we develop strategies, but we're not talking about those either today. Now we're going to go into marketing and sales automation, which is really Andrea's particular area of expertise, or maybe it's just one service area that we provide here that I know very little about. I'm just kidding. Marketing and sales automation. What is marketing automation? Supercharge your sales pipeline and stay top of mind. Define marketing and sales automation. This is what Wikipedia says sales automation is. Marketing automation refers to software platforms and technologies designed for marketing departments and organizations to more effectively market on multiple channels online and automate repetitive tasks. That, in a nutshell, I guess, is what they do, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a pretty good definition. You can always rely on Wikipedia to give you like reasonably generic but worthy information, right?
I agree. Yeah.
So why don't you give this slide, Andrea, and in fact you can give the rest of the presentation.
It sounds good. So the platform that we just recently implemented was with Keap. The other ones you've seen and heard of, HubSpot, Salesforce, I've set up in those as well. So is our team. And the question to ask yourself is how much of that is going to take away from your budget. HubSpot is extremely expensive. Salesforce, I believe, has like the cloud option, which kind of brings it down a tier. And then why we like Keap is because it gives you all the bells and whistles and automation, but it doesn't strip you away and shackle you down from your marketing budget. So that's why we started working with them about a year now. We even use it. I use it for my business as well. So anyway, I digress. When we implement marketing automation, and we did just ask some folks, it looks like 2 folks in the audience who just polled do not have marketing automation in place. Some folks might say they sort of do. And when I say that, they're using Constant Contact or MailChimp, which gives you a taste of automation, but won't allow you to implement and build out longer sales cycles and longer nurtures. So if someone gets on the phone and you want to close them on the phone and they go, I'm not so ready for this, they go disappear and shop around for 3 months. You still want to be a part of that conversation, but you want to do it in a mindful way. So you have to think about, are they captured in your retargeting? Are they seeing display within the channels, i.e. LinkedIn? Or if you've got like a Gmail ad going out, and then how often are you blasting them? Are they on your newsletter? And then, of course, how often are you automating the conversation, which is going to feel more one-to-one from hopefully one of the sales reps that they spoke to, if you can get it whittled down to that. I know I'm getting into the weeds. This is my issue. So anybody, you just pop in and ask me questions.
Well, to get us back maybe to the big picture, your bullet points here. Marketing automation makes the sales pipeline more efficient, creates personalized touches for prospects and clients, tells your story and sets the correct tone for prospects, gathers valuable data and insights that we can use in various ways, and reports on return on investment across many different channels.
If architected correctly, we're only as good as our
architected correctly, right? The data is only as good as the people that are setting up and collecting and quantifying the data.
Exactly. So this is really when marketing and sales come together. So sales in their pipeline, and we'll see a pipeline view soon, as there's a history and there's an updating of contact IDs and why they don't want to speak to us or why they think we're too expensive, and that history just accumulates more and more data.
By the way, you might be having some audio problems, so just make sure you're close to your mic and a consistent distance away.
Sure. Barbara, is this getting better? I tried to scoot in. I hope so. So Barbara asks, how do you know which are your most productive channels? Well, that attributes down to data architecture and doing your due diligence of quarterly reporting, taking basically the P&L, breaking it out, and finding the leaks, because there's definitely going to be leaks and gaps to your data, because attributing first to last click in paid search is still an issue today without the support of AI and very expensive tool sets. But trying to whittle down, like I think we were just kind of breaking out end of the year reporting for radio and advertising, and because of Keep and the questions we ask on our form and capturing IP addresses, we can know out of the 100 radio ads which ones, which channel they heard us on, what services they actually hired us for, how much, and then of course how much are lost sales, why, if the history is there, and who's sitting in the pipeline waiting.
Right. So I think another way to look at this, Barbara, is marketing automation tools allow us to sort of very precisely mark the source of conversions in most circumstances. It's harder to do with traditional advertising, but with digital, it's a breeze. So when we set up campaigns digitally, there's a dialogue that takes place between the marketing automation package and tracking tools that we set up, like with Google if we're running PPC ads. And so we can very precisely determine like the source of incoming leads for everything digital. And that allows us to sort of calculate return on investment and determine productivity of channels.
Yep. And I will make note, if any digital marketers are in the house today, we are worried about that cookie getting taken away, but there will be other tool sets to nest into your website to hopefully help with that attribution. Right. So, all right, what we're looking at, go ahead. Yes. Or is that you?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Okay. So what we're looking at here, this little snapshot, is actually 3-touch nurture after someone gets off the phone and they don't close. So we call it the after consult 3-touch. And it's actually quite simple to build. The idea is that here at the beginning, we trigger when a prospect comes into the stage of after consult, trigger, and then there's a delay or a cadence that's appropriate. So we'll reach out the next day, and then we'll stay in touch every 3 to 5 business days. Special note to keep in mind of time zones, so you can tinker with the particular person's time zones to reach them in those peak hours of going through email, maybe around 10 a.m. with a cup of coffee, or 4 o'clock before they hit the road. So what we're seeing is we can also attribute goals. And the goal is we want them to schedule, or we want them to get out of that pipeline stage and hopefully move to the next one. And when they reach those goals, the automation will stop, because we don't want to keep bothering them with a message that is no longer relevant to them. And all of that speaks in here.
Great. So again, by the way, when I was thinking about, Andrea and I talk to clients a lot, and we have sort of a presentation style, and in order to study up on who I would consider to be a role model in terms of this presentation style, everybody watch Best in Show, because I'm modeling my performance after Fred Willard's performance in Best in Show. I'm like the idiot that knows nothing that asks the stupid questions when I'm listening to her give technical explanations. So to summarize from the idiot's point of view, it sounds like marketing automation allows us to create very curated journeys to our sales prospects based on behaviors that they're exhibiting. So if they didn't set up an appointment with us initially, they get like a curated series of emails. If they did, they become a client and they get a different set of curated emails, correct?
Correct.
All right.
And now sales doesn't have to manually create those welcome emails, which they were doing before. And then, sorry guys, like I think of these things because I'm in it, and like, Brian or Dev and I were like in there every day kind of tinkering. But the segmentation of message, right? So if you have a plethora of service sets, tax prep to tax planning, to entity formation, right?
Pension planning.
What is it?
Pension planning.
Pension planning. There you go. I need to work on. Do I have pension planning? So when they click the service, you can create triggers, and then obviously more work. But when you have a big library of content like our client does, we can pull relevant content for pension planning now, and they'll go into a pension planning nurture, and they'll have really great videos and snippets. Yeah, and they get excited.
So again, we can sort of customize the user journey based on interests, because we're able to tag these interests from the start of our engagement with those customers. Mm-hmm. So talk about pipeline optimization.
Let's do it. And I know we want like time for Q&A and turning on the mic. So when we want to just get an overall view of how our sales folks are doing, we can look at pipeline analytics, full transparency in Keap. This is still in beta, so they're making this better and better every day. Like most software, they're always improving. So I take this, if you get Keap, I want you to just know that take this with a grain of salt as it improves. So don't always question your data sometimes, right? But a good snapshot of this is the deal conversion rate. Where are they sitting and kind of blocking the stages? Like, where are they waiting for more information, or trying to like just take time to consider? And then of course, if we go to the next one, we have a campaign view. But just to tick off the rest of how long is your sales cycle? I find that a lot of folks think they know the sales cycle, and then this actually
changes the view.
Yeah, this particular client, they tell you 6 days, forget it, and it actually is more like 2 weeks. So very interesting. But is it 2 weeks because we're getting backed up in sales and scheduling consult calls, or was it the holidays, or folks just aren't ready to get on a call? They need more information to pre-qualify, etc. So
and most professional service sales cycles are longer than 2 weeks, and we do realize that. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking about tax lawyers and tax season, it can easily be that short.
Yeah, I just want to get my taxes done.
But again, doing my Fred Willard imitation, I think the point of this is that like the optimization of the pipeline allows us to sort of learn a lot about fundamental marketing and sales funnel realities in a data-driven, reasonably accurate way. Okay. ROI.
All right, here we go. So here's a pipeline view. And as you can see, we see an accumulation of lost or unqualified leads. We segment them by stage for proper tagging and more focused reporting in the end. How many leads came in this year? How many were qualified? How many were qualified and lost? How many were unqualified? We might even get so nitty gritty as we're going to know how many IRS referrals we got to next year. It's all a growing situation because people are still adapting to this new technology. So, slow and steady wins the race. And then we've got referral sources, sales reports, conversion by forms. We love that. So we do our due diligence to actually create all unique forms. And dependent on the landing page environment, we might ask different questions of them. So for instance, if it's a landing page that's specific to radio advertising, we're going to get nitty gritty into what they liked about the show, what show they came in through, what their challenges were and why they listened to the entire podcast or show, and et cetera. We want to learn more. And then, of course, campaign engagement. And we'll talk about campaigns next. So the first view you guys saw with the automation that we had implemented, this is the reporting view. So you were in the editing view, and now we're reporting. So campaigns, whether you're in HubSpot, Salesforce, Keap, they push you to define what a campaign is. So, and what that goal will be. So what are we trying to achieve here? And then to go even further with that, is there a start and end date? With some of these automations, it will be all time. For the after consult, we're trying to report for the rest of the time we have the software, how many folks, and we can change the dates, how many folks triggered the pipeline, and how many actually clicked the schedule link or moved out of the stage. And then, of course, at the end of everything, 3 touches, how many stopped or tanked, as I call it tank. They sit in the tank, and then we give them an option to hopefully subscribe to our newsletter or YouTube channel, and just gain free content that way and stay engaged. So that's that. And then finally, Jim, we came to the asking for feedback one more time, asking our folks, and keeping it short and simple. So our customer satisfaction survey is no more than 4 questions. We use a Net Promoter Score, which is the star rating here, to get a general sense of who would promote us and who would not. And as you can see, this is actually not a client we've spoke to today. This was back in the day. And since then, their rating has increased because they learned and they adjusted. But I wanted to just take a snippet of where it started, because I think that's really interesting, to know that half of your folks will refer you and the other half won't. And then digging down into the reasons why. I can't see a more valuable use of time for both sales and marketing and business development as the new year approaches. So I guess
that's actually, that speaks to a really big point of why I love sales and marketing automation packages. It's because, I think that sometimes they get a really bad rep within the industry because sales and marketing automation are the tools that sort of relentlessly pummel you with broadcast emails. Sometimes they're sometimes a little snoopy and kind of Orwellian in the way that they're used, but that's because they're being used incorrectly in those circumstances. As a tool, they are so powerful in terms of being able to improve your customer experience. They don't stop at marketing and they don't stop at sales. They actually extend into reputation management. They allow us to create an entire ecosystem within which our prospects and clients live. And that just provides just immeasurable amounts of feedback and opportunity to learn as a marketer.
Yeah, and one of our top channels in the polls earlier for one of their best channels to find lead gen is, not surprisingly, referral marketing. So, delighting those clients that you have so that they just speak the world about you. That's honestly how I made my business in the first year. David, would you say the same?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Happy clients.
Happy clients. So wrapping up, the bottom line, I'm going to create a faux pas and actually just read this slide. I know you're not supposed to, but why did I write this stuff in the first place if I'm not going to read it? Professional services that rely on a steady stream of new leads to survive are more similar to retail business in many ways than their referral-based peers. That's kind of probably an observation that professional service providers don't necessarily want to hear, but a lot of the tactics that we would use for online retailers are similar to the tactics we would use for direct-to-consumer professional service firms. It stands to follow then that the tools and strategies needed to thrive are likewise unique in the professional services universe. So they're unique to professional services. They're actually common to other direct-to-consumer businesses. Successful marketing for direct-to-consumer firms combines sound strategy, execution, and tool sets that improve execution. It starts with a very simple set of ideas that get complicated once you begin implementing them.
And I think, we're going to give the offer that this Cyber Monday, Black Friday, wherever we're at here in the mix of things for Keap here. I'll just share it for y'all now if you're ever interested. Check it out. So automation can not only be expensive in the software, but you can feel frustrated if you don't have someone to guide you in implementing it. And I think that our clients, because they had us on retainer and a digital partner that they trusted, they found firsthand that you can purchase all this, whether it's tax planning software or marketing software. The software companies, their due diligence and focus is to improve the software, and it's their onboarding team is not going to be there every step of the way to customize. So you either need a champion in-house to take you through that hardship, and it will feel frustrating because you're bringing a lot of departments together, you're bringing a lot of needs, and you can't always satisfy all those needs, or you have a good digital partner to do so. So I just, like, before anybody hops into purchasing anything, just make sure that you're ready to like take it by the horns, implement it, play, and experiment. Yeah.
Yes, I would, again, obviously, we implemented marketing automation for a client. It was largely the work of Andrea. And I can say, just although it's impossible for me to be impartial, watching all of this from sort of the perspective of a third person perspective, I think a lot of clients would struggle greatly if they didn't hire some sort of marketing automation integrator, somebody that has this sort of experience, because it is challenging. You have to, from the development standpoint, you have to weave in every single software as a service tool that a professional service firm is currently using so that it interacts with marketing automation. So besides, as Andrea noted before, our developer, Brian, was kept busy for a very long time integrating marketing automation. So at this point, I think we're ready to thank folks for attending. And, obviously, if anything we said sort of sparks an interest, you can contact both of us at our emails that we provided. I can provide this deck also as a giveaway. I'm not sure how to do that, but I'll figure out. And if folks would like that sent to them, I can. And if there are any questions, ask right now in chat.
Thanks, please. So David, I gave the handout away. I don't know how folks feel about this. I'd love to just ask, for the next webcast, should we like open up the forum and like just ask real questions? Like if folks don't mind opening up their analytics, if they've got questions, like how could I fix it? We could do some like real tuning. It keeps us sharp.
Sure. I wish we had a format that allowed us to see our participants. We've been talking about this internally, and it might be a good idea to move to something like a Zoom platform that allows us to actually interact more sort of visually with folks.
Yes. Let me. So Barbara, I'm just chatting you. In my view, there's a little handouts tab. If you click on that one, I think y'all can download this today. Our deck. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, no, I'd love that. Get some faces on or fake faces, avatars.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone. I think we're going to sign off. Yes, Zoom does work for that, and it does work well. I agree. I mean, in some ways, I felt like when I was looking for a webinar hosting platform, I sort of walked around this obvious 800-pound gorilla looking for the perfect platform, and I just didn't notice the 800-pound gorilla, because obviously I've been using Zoom. We've been using Zoom professionally for, well, everybody knows how long we've been using, since about March 2020. All right, thanks again. Andrea and I both thank you very, very heartily, and we hope to continue our dialogue with you offline.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right.